Sadnam Aloha. So this is a human design reading for Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. So if you've clicked on here, you're probably familiar with these two artists from Mexico. They're notorious for having a tumultuous relationship, and I want to look at them through the lens of human design to understand their relationship dynamics a little better and maybe learn from their relationship. So we'll look at through the lens of human design, but also astrology, Western astrology, through the synergy chart and the composite chart. So this is part one. So if you see here, there's Diego's human design chart, and I'm using December 13th, just for the people that want to know that. This is from his baptismal records because there's a lot of, he's born on December 8th, right at this time, that time. And December 13th actually comes from a record, his baptismal record. So when I looked at their synergy, their Western synergy chart together, everything, it made more sense, right? So this is the one that we're going with. And then here's Frida Kahlo's human design chart over here. Okay, so there's the one, and then this is their connection chart. So if you like to look at it like, okay, there's Diego's chart, there's Frida's chart, and then this is the relationship chart, right? So it's the one person, but then there's another entity that gets formed, and that's the relationship. So this gives us a lot of information about their relationship. So before we go into type, we'll go into these centers. Okay, so how do they condition one another? How did they influence one another? Well, he's going to have more influence over her. Everything that's colored in is original to Frida Kahlo, whatever's colored in here, and the same with Diego, what's colored in here. So you'll notice both their head centers or crown chakras are open. His ajna, his personal mind, is colored in, and hers is open. So wherever there's an open center, that's where you're prone to conditioning, and that means you're being pulled away from your authentic self, right? So this is, he is mentally certain, right? He's mentally certain. He has a consistent way of speaking from his mind, right? But she's not here to be mentally certain. She's not here to be mentally certain. So he would condition her. And if she were not self Frida, then she would argue and fight with him and, I need to be mentally certain like you are, but that's not her, right? That's not her. So that's how that conditioning can work here. And then they both have a defined throat chakra, both defined G center. And then this one, he's got a defined willpower center. I approach human design from a spiritual perspective, so I call this the willpower center. Willpower. The ego is part of the mind to me. So there's the willpower center, and hers is open, and his is defined. So he would influence her. She would feel insecure around him. She would feel like she had to prove herself to him. This is if she's not self. She would look for his acceptance, right? She would take on his willpower and maybe do things that aren't correct for her because she's feeling his incredible willpower. Because this means it's consistent. Wherever it's colored in, it's consistent. So he has a consistent willpower, and she doesn't. So there's that. And then he's an energy type. He's a manifesting generator, and she's a manifester. She's a non-energy type. So he would influence her in this way. He would condition her. He's got a consistent regenerative energy, right? That's consistent, and hers is no. It's not consistent. She needs more rest than he would, right? He can go, 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 go. Plus, he's the manifesting generator, and he's got the busy channel 3420, and she doesn't, right? So he could have influenced her. in terms of that, because she's going to feel that energy. Remember with the white centers, you not only take in the energy of the other, but you expand it and then you send it out. And not self would try to keep up with him. And this, of course, would affect her health. It would affect her health because it would deplete. And the thing with energy, it's like something has to pay, right? That you have to pay it back, and it's going to come through the cells. So that probably is part of her health. She had health issues all of her life. So there's that. They're both emotional, right? They both have physical well-being, sense of physical well-being here with the spleen and the spleen. And of course, if you're operating as not self, then this doesn't apply, right? It can affect your gifts. And then he's got an open root and she's got a defined root. So he would be conditioned by her stress. She's feeling stress, he would feel not only her stress, but he would amplify it and wanting to be busy, continually trying to get this pressure off of him that he would feel from her, So that's the centers. And then if we go into when you bring them together, the centers together, you notice that they're all of them except one is colored in. So what does this mean for the relationship? It means 8 and 1 have some fun. So this is when you take her design and his design and you put it together, right? And then 1 is left open, right? So 8 centers are colored in, 1 is left open. So this is the area where there's 1 left open. That's where they develop areas of common interest that bind them to the outside world together. It's like a window out of the relationship in a sense. So it's a way to get out of the relationship into something else, and something else that they can share from different perspectives. So it depends on where the open center is. So this is a place where they can do things together, go out together, work together, discover things together. And 8 and 1 is something that's very a healthy kind of bond between two beings. So for a relationship with this, they didn't have children together. He had 2 children with other women. They really have to go out and find what they really loved to do together, which in my research they did, right? Through politics and art, of course. So there's the 8 and 1, have some fun. And it's in here. So it's like going out for inspiration, right? Going out to be inspired, inspiration. They would do that, go to lectures and things like that, hearing people speak, inspiring ideas. That would be what they'd be into, anything that inspires them. But the not self, if they fall into the not self, then they're thinking about things that don't really matter. It's just roof noise. But inspiration would be their thing that they would both enjoy. And that would get them out of any conflict, which they have in their charts, right? Conflict and turmoil into this. That would be a good place for them to go. 8 and 1, have some fun. Okay, so the next big thing here, and that's different from these two, he's what's called single definition. Single definition. Right? And what does that mean? And she's split definition. And this is really important. This means wherever there's definition, do you see these gates joined together? Right? The 27 and the 50, for example, they join together, and that's what makes this colored in. It gives definition. Right? So that if they all join up together, if that energy is able to circulate to all the other areas where there's definition, then this is called single definition, which he has. It all flows. Okay? So what does this mean for him? He's pretty whole onto himself, Diego. And this is only 41% of the world. 41% of the world has this so far. 41% of the population are single definition. So working at relationships isn't really important for single definition people, right? So working on a relationship for Diego wouldn't have been, he's like, what's the deal? I'm all good over here, right? He's not designed to work on relationships. And the attitude is, well, if the relationship doesn't work, then I just move on to the next one. And that's basically what he did all his life. He was married from 22 right to his death in his 60s. Or 70, he died when he was 70. He was married consistently and many wives. There's a pattern, I'll go into that in a bit, right? So he's like, I'm all good, right? I've got this consistent energy. His design isn't looking for the other, like another person, like the split definitions do. So she's split, right? So you can see that she's got definition here, but it doesn't join with the spleen. Doesn't get up to the throat, right? So what she's looking for, because we're talking about not self, and we'll use Frida as an example. Her not self would be looking for the one, you see? Number one, the gate number one to join up, the 1-8. And then she'd be looking for the 20 to join up to the throat. And then she'd be looking for the 28, of course, to get to the other side from the root to the spleen. And then, so it's the 28, the 1, the 20, and the 7. She'd be looking for the 7 too, as well, right? So she's looking for the 28, the 7, the 1, the 20. And this is unconscious. This is her design, because the not self is always looking for the bridge. For a bridge. He doesn't need a bridge. Diego's fine over here, right? But she does. So what's she looking for? She's looking for something to fight for. The 28 is the gate of the game player, but it's all about what's worth fighting for. So she'd want somebody to come into her life to tell her what's worth fighting for. What's worth fighting for? What gives me purpose in life? I need somebody to tell me that, right? Or she's also, so that's the 28. She's also looking for a leader. That's the 7. This is the gate of the army, right? So she'd be looking for someone to lead me into the future, right? Who could see where humanity is. This is like collective leadership, right? Who will show me the patterns in the future, where the direction where humanity is going, right? And what needs to be corrected. I need somebody to show me that. Somebody who has great influence and persuasion over others, and that was him. He was an established artist when he met her, right? There's a 20-year age gap between these two. So that's what she looking for. She'd be looking for to be spontaneous in the now with her voice. She'd be looking for that 20, right? To come into the throat from the 57 to the 20. Looking for someone who speaks in the now present moment, who's spontaneous, who's authentic, right? But in the present now moment, right? So you'd be looking for that. And then, of course, the 1, and that's creativity. Being able to speak from the self, the identity of the self, your unique expression. So very creative. I need somebody who is creative, right? Creative shows me how to be creative. Shows me how to speak from myself, my authentic self, right? So this is just the design. This is how she's designed and what she would be looking for. Now, is this necessarily correct for her? Well, it depends. It depends if she's entered into this relationship as herself. And we're going to determine that in this video. We're also going to look at if they're twin flames as well, the early twin flames. So how do you work with this? Well, you flip it around. You tell yourself what's worth fighting for. And I think Frida did that as she got older. Remember, he was a powerful influence on her. She met him when she was 15 years old, right? She had a powerful influence on her. So what's worth fighting for? What has meaning for me? You give that to yourself first. You don't expect other people to tell you what's worth fighting for and what has purpose for you, what has meaning for you. You find that out for yourself. And you help others to do the same. You help others, right? This is an individual channel here, the channel of struggle, the 3828. This is all about, so giving that to yourself, but also helping other people to find their purpose, right? The 28 is all about purpose and what's worth fighting for, the 28. And then if you go up here, it's the 20 is you. Frida speaks from the spontaneous now moment. She trusts her own voice. Trust your own voice. And then you help others do the same, right? You help others to trust their own voice, their spontaneous expression in the now moment. And then you lead yourself, the 7. You don't expect somebody else to lead you. You lead yourself first. And then you teach other people to trust their own inner authority, right? To lead themselves first. And then of your own creativity, your own unique creative expression. You find that within yourself, and then you help others do the same. Now, I really feel strongly, and maybe you will agree with me or not, that she definitely succeeded in these areas. By the time of her death, she died at 47, which is really, really young nowadays. Okay? So there's that. So he's all good. He doesn't need any of that. But she would be the one most, because she's designed to work on the relationships. The split definition people are attracted to one another, and they know the importance of relationships. They're here to teach how to bond, and that teach others how to bond in pairs, right? He wasn't here for that, but she was, right? She was. So you can see the not self is looking for that wholeness. So it's always looking for what it's not. That's why it's, in terms of her chart, she's looking for the 28, the 1, the 7, and the 20. So that these are all in touch, because right now they're all separate, right? If she's just on her own. Okay. Okay. So split definition people, right? So you want to check your own chart too. You are made for relationships. You're made for relationships. So you're not going to be someone that can be like a single definition person, can be fine and not in relationships. But the split definition people are no, not. Because they're learning. They're learning in the school of duality what they're not. Okay, so let's go to the types then. They're types. So we've got Diego is a manifesting generator and Frida was a manifester, right? So we'll go to these individual. So they're different types. So this is 9% of the population are manifestors. So Frida had a closed and repelling aura. Closed and repelling aura. And she has a strategy for a manifester. And her strategy is to listen. She listens to divine guidance. Divine guidance. And then she informs or shares with others. And then she initiates. So she's not asking for permission, right? She doesn't ask for permission. She just manifests. So closed and repelling aura would be difficult for people to really get in, right? On the energetic level with Frida. So she could feel very alone as a manifester type. And then we've got Diego, who's an MG, manifesting generator. He's got the open and enveloping aura. So he's here to respond from his sacral with a yes or no, right? So he's always in response. He's not about initiating. He's not about initiating. So let's look at how they got together. So you can see they've got a little, they're not the same type, right? They're not the same type. So, and she's a manifestor woman, right? So manifestor woman kind of flips it on the, because they have to initiate in their relationships. They can't respond to a relationship like an MG or a G. They have to initiate. To enter into a relationship correctly, they have to initiate. And in terms of gender or gender socialization, it's like women don't initiate. Men do the chasing. Or women don't do the chasing. But she has to do the initiation process here in the relationship. And you can see she's ahead of the game because she's got the inner circle. This is the synergy chart of Diego and Frida. I'll go into this later in part 2. But you can see her nodal axis, her north node is in Cancer and her south node is in Capricorn. So right away, that says that she's in a different sex in her lifetime. She flipped. This was her flip. So she went from male to female body, right? She went to male to female body. That's the Cancer Capricorn nodal axis. So she was the OG, right, of like gender bending and things like that. There's pictures of her, family pictures, where she's wearing a suit and tie, and she had relationships with women, both women and men. So she was the OG for sure, the original gangster of this gender fluidity. So it would have been easy for her to be a manifestor and to initiate. And if you look how they bond, right? And she did initiate with him. How they met was she was in high school and he was commissioned to do a mural in her high school and she watched him. So this is a bonding thing. Her bonding strategy with others for and this is on your chart too, is the 1-5, right? So that is the penetrator. The penetrator, seducer. She was the penetrator, seducer. So that's her correct way of forming relationships. That's her bonding strategy. If she goes against this, then it's not going to work. The relationship won't work. So what did she do? She was in the bleachers watching him. She was watching him paint and do his murals, and she watched him for a while. And that's the first line. The first line is like, I'm investigating you. I'm watching you. I'm watching your behavior. I'm watching all these women and girls, right? He was like a magnet for women and girls, and I'll explain why that is. So she was investigating him, watching him, right? Gathering information about him. And then the 5th line kicks in, and then she seduces him. Right, so how did she seduce him? She went right down to he's on the scaffolding, and she kind of ordered him to come down here and look at my paintings and say, am I any good or not? And that's the 39, right? This is provocation. It's a gate of provocation. And she provoked him, right? She provoked him to see if he was the right spirit for her, and he completely was not submissive, but he listened to her. He had a lot of power, right? He had a lot of power then, and he was kind of adored and worshipped, and she just didn't care. So she definitely entered into this, seduced him by her provocation. Like, look at this girl in front of me, right? Look at the kahuna she's got on her. He was kind of smitten by her feistiness, right? And that's that 39-5. Now, it can also work the other way, that she's either seducing or she likes to be seduced. So he obviously loves to be seduced, right? Else it wouldn't have worked. She'll only seduce somebody that wants to be seduced, and then she wants to be seduced, right? So that's how it works there. And then his bonding strategy here is the dreamer loner, right? So this is shyness. Second line is shyness. So there's the boldness, right? With her seduction, she came and she was bold with him. So that's the second line, shy. And again, it works the other way too. If you've got if the second line is a loner, then you also can be bold, right? You have to be bold. So you're either shy or bold. You can go back and forth with this. And then the sixth line is the dreamer. And these are the ones that want the soulmate. They want the deep, deep connections. This is their relationships, right? Their relationships, long-term relationships. They want a deep spiritual connection, the six lines, and that's why they're called the dreamers. But so that worked out well with him, right? Bold, the dream. Here's somebody who has a lot of creative talent. He could see that in her. And he really helped bring that out in her. So the sixth line, just to go over this too, because he's a 6-2 profile, right? The 0.62 profile. This means he goes through 3 developmental stages. So from 0 to 30, it's a trial and error process where it's bonds made and broken. So he was married from 22 to 32, right? And then he gets on the roof. So he's married and divorced then. Meanwhile, he's having lots of affairs, right? He was really a womanizer. He had a lot of women. Okay, so then the second stage is from 30 to 50, right? And that's when you're on the roof, right? You're on the roof. But you can come off the roof sooner than 50. That's like the maximum, right, is 50. That you come down off the roof, and that's 50 plus, right? So three stages. So the first stage is kind of a gong show because he has no control over this bonds made and broken. Trial and error process because he's learning about relationships through trial and error, right? So then he got married a second time. From 33 to 39. He's got a pattern. I'm just going to write this down so you can see it. So 22 to 32, his first marriage. 33 to 39, his second marriage. 40 to 50, third marriage. That was Frida. And then 51 to 65, right? And then 66 and onward, right? And then till his death. So this is his number of marriages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right until his death, right? And look, takes a year off. That's his pattern. He takes a year off and then he's in the next one, right? So he was basically married from 22 right till his death. Yeah. So he met Frida when he was about 38, 39, and she was only 15. So he was still married when he met Frida for 2 years, right? So, and then he married her from 40 to 50, and then they divorced, and then he married her again, 51 to 65. Yeah. So that's his process here. So let's talk about what sparks these two up here. So what's a spark? You can see their connection chart here, right? She's blue. Wherever there's the light blue, that's Frida. And wherever there's orange, that's Diego right here. So you can see the sparks. It's where the two join, right? So he's, let's look at the 57, yeah. Look at the 57-20. We've got Frida's got the 57, and then he's got the 20. So that would be a spark. So again, it's this drawn to one another from sparks. Now sparks are very attractive, these electromagnetics, very attractive and repulsive. They can work both ways, right? It's a binary. So, but it has to make a channel. It has to make a channel. So let's look at their sparks. If we go to the 3457, whoops, here, the 3457 back here, and that's the 3457. 34 comes off the sacral. That's Diego because it's orange, and then Frida's the 57, which is blue. So what does this mean for the relationship? Well, the gate 34, this is a big part of the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix that's coming in 2027. This is pure vital energy, unconditioned energy. It's individual. So it provides the fuel that empowers people towards individuation and the expression of our uniqueness. So Diego's got that one. Frida's got the 57 on the other side. Very sensitive to their environment and a powerful body intuition. This isn't third eye intuition. This is body intuition that protects her well-being. So when these two gates connect or spark, it enhances the couple's intuition to survive together, and they will experience an increased feeling of confidence and security when they're together, both sharing a sense of empowerment. So both have to remain rooted in their authenticity, their true self, and not allow the energetic qualities of this powerful connection be compromised, right? Not compromise their well-being or their physical safety. So this can happen, right? This can happen, this compromise of their well-being and physical safety. Well, this can happen if Diego's, right, powerful fuel overrides Frida's intuition, her body intuition, or if Frida's, right, lack of clarity ignores her guidance from within and impacts Diego's ability to respond correctly. So that's how that can work. Detriment and positive, and in a positive way. But it's really about, being your authentic self. So if we look at the 1034, and that's the channel of exploration. So there's the 10. So Frida's got the 10, and then Diego's got the 34, and this creates the channel of exploration, 3410 here. So, whoops. So Frida, this gives her the love of her authentic self. You can get lots of self-love here with this gate 10, and the ability to behave correctly as your authentic self in any situation or environment. Wherever she goes, she could be going to church, or she could be going to a Hell's Angel bar. She would be the same with this gate 10. But knowing how to behave in each one, but maintaining her authenticity in every situation, right? And then, of course, Diego, the gate 34 again, the pure vital energy, providing that powerful fuel that empowers people towards individuation and the expression of their uniqueness, not only himself, but others. So this connection may empower Frida's authentic behavior and self-expression, right? And Frida can impact how Diego's channels their powerful energy in correct ways of expression and their actions. So that's the positive, right? So this partnership may express a focus on unique expression and encourage both of them to explore new ways towards even becoming more independent and self-reliant. So the negative, what can happen too, right, is Frida's sense of right behavior, because this is all about behavior. Her sense of right behavior may clash with Diego's tendency to get lost in his own trip. Because the 34, you get lost in your own trip, right? You're just doing your own thing. You're in your momentum. right? And then she could become very uncomfortable by his display of pure sacral power. So the use of force, right? When the 34 kicks in, when that 34 kicks in, and he has the whole channel too, the gate, the channel of charisma, which I'll go into in part 2, is he can be forcing things because he's just taken over by that pure sacral power. So this would be the painting, and can't stop, right? And can't stop, won't take a break, right? Just driven. That's lost in this momentum and his own trip. So conflicts can occur because Diego will feel restrained in expressing his power in response to the external, right? So that would be a place to look at there for conflict. And then the channel of awakening, the 2010, whoops, the 2010. So she's got the 10 and he's got the 20. Diego's got the 20. Okay. So this is called the channel of awakening. And the 10, remember, that Frida has is loving yourself, your authentic self, and the ability to behave correctly as your authentic self in any situation and environment. So Diego with the 20 is the voice of being present and alert in the now present moment, absorbed in their own trip, and about to communicate. And it's also about communicating intuitive knowing that suddenly emerges from deep within you, as long as you're in the present moment. So the quality of their interaction would really depend on them respecting and encouraging each other's authentic way of expression. So they're going to communicate in different ways, right? So when these two gates spark, right, they may experience a heightened sense of connection to the present moment. This is where time stands still, right? And awaken self-love, their own sense of self-love through the union. So the gate 2020, right, Diego's spontaneous way of expressing their intuitive knowing can clash with Frida's sense of correct behavior. Or if Diego feels limited or censored in their expression by gates, Frida's fixed behavior patterns, right? That he feels censored by her behavior patterns. Okay. And then the last one where they spark is the channel of the brainwave, and that's 5720. Right here. 5720. Where she's got the 57 and then he has the 20. Okay. So the 57, this is Frida's, very sensitive to her environment and has that powerful body intuition that protects her well-being. Something tells me she wasn't listening to this, right? And gate 12, maybe she did, I don't know. And gate 20 is a voice of being present. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. She will go into this deeper, right? But the North Node is telling where the soul wants you to go. So she's had past lives. Capricorn repress. They repress their emotions, right? They've got a job to do. It's very serious. They've got duty. They have obligation. And her soul in this lifetime is asking her to go to Cancer. And that's her emotions, her feelings, right? Her inner child, her mother, right? And so if you don't do this, right, if you don't embrace this, then it's going to break down. Your body will break down, right? You can't repress. She could repress those emotions in her past life, but not in her that lifetime that she just lived. And there you've got Diego's moon right on her North Node to help her with that, And it sounded like he was the one that really got through to her because he was constantly cheating on her, sleeping with other women. And then the deal breaker was when he slept with her sister that she was close to. Like she was really close to, and her sister, right? So that would be this moon right on her north node to learn about her emotional body, right? And if you're not doing that work, it's going to literally like break your body, wanting those emotions wanted to shatter her heart open. And she was a tough nut. She was totally a tough nut. Okay. And she had this powerful body intuition that was speaking to her. So gate 20, right? This is Diego. It has that voice of being present and alert in the now moment. This is the I don't know what you're going to say until you're there, right? There's no scripting. And they're absorbed in their own trip. So when these two gates connect, it's an intuitive connection that allows both to be present and attentive in the moment, guided by an instinctual intelligence without concern for the future. Just in the now moment, there's no future. So the gate 20, right? Diego can support Frida to speak her intuitive insights, while Frida can bring her instinct for self-preservation to Diego, right? To focus in the moment and support them to express their intuition, their body intuition. So this frequency empowers survival and well-being, creating the potential for deep-rooted wisdom that can penetrate to the root of any situation in the now moment. So a challenge can arise when Diego is absorbed in his own trip and he's not sharing that with the other, like when he was painting his murals. He wasn't sharing that with her. She was kind of the sidelines watching, right? And his need to spontaneously speak can conflict with this gate 57, this instinctive clarity, right? When she's lacking wisdom, the wisdom will come, right? The spleen is our most ancient awareness system, and it comes from deep, deep within the wisdom of the body, right? So her body's communicating something, will come into conflict when he's on his own trip. So she could have a lot of problems listening to Diego. So those are the electromagnetics. And then in part 2, I'll go through other things that we can see in the chart, and also go through their wounding, right? Their deepest wounding. And so how they communicated to one another, what the triggers were, what they could have done to offset the triggers, what the lessons were, right? All these kinds of things in the next in the chart. We'll talk about their past life together and other things. So be sure, if you are not subscribed to the channel, to go and do so. And please like this video. And if you enjoy this kind of content, let me know. And the other thing is, if you want a relationship reading yourself to get all this information about you and your partner, then go to my website and check that out. And it's a thorough, like 2-hour reading, and lots of information. Because basically during this time now, it's about being your individual authentic self, and your partner can help you with that, right? With your authenticity, and vice versa. But you need to know who you are first. And then you need to know how you influence one another, for better or for worse, and if you've entered into your relationship correctly, right? These are the types of things we're going to have to know about in the future to really move through this amazing time of transition. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Sat Nam Aloha.